We have a serious face. I feel like laughing.
All right, and we are recording. Hello, hello, loves. We are very excited to bring to you another episode of Becoming by the Syndicate. And I'm so happy to be with my sisters, and I mean that in all the senses of the word. We have Tasha and Dunny, better known as Fast, as well as Sonia, who is known as the love behind Mystic Love Lounge. So all of the ladies are in the house, not all, because we have more people, but these ladies are in the house to bring you guys some beautiful messages to help you get through this hard time. It's a hard time for a lot of people. We are not ignorant to that fact, and we're not callous toward it either. Our heart goes out to everyone who's struggling financially, struggling emotionally, struggling in whatever sense, maybe even physically. You know, you have our good thoughts, great energy, and we believe and hold space for your restoration. So with that being said, hey guys.
Hey, so happy to be here, sis. I'm so happy to see these beautiful ladies on this live right here. And love and hugs to all of our other sisters out there of the syndicate. And you know, we'll be talking again soon too.
Yes, absolutely. So let's start off by acknowledging the obvious. We're going to have a little moment of some girlishness. Sonia, tell us about this new look, because you like got the diva thing going. You look like a baby doll.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know how you just be like, I think, you know, what was her name off of Waiting to Exhale, Bernadette? She was I was like, I just want something different. It's like, cause my husband was like, okay. He was like, okay, now what? So I was just like, I'm gonna do a big reveal, but I was gonna do like blue, but hey, you got this right now.
Love it.
And all her gloriousness.
I know.
Love it. Yeah. I always say that brings out your features even more. Like we get to see the beauty, you know, when the hair is not covering. I love it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's that's the reason why I won't cut mine off. It brings out your features. Like, hi, somebody.
You know you live. Come on
you know
now.
How you have a forehead?
Okay.
Oh wow.
No, I saw an old she's underestimating here. Okay, so today I saw a live, someone shared a live from 2018 that Emme did. So she had her hair actually tied up. So you still could see her beautiful features and everything like that. She looked so good. I don't know, I can't remember if they shared it in the group. Oh, it was Crystal. She shared it on her main page, and apparently Emme had some jewels in there. And I saw that it was from 2018. You had your hair wrapped up in like a black wrap, Emme. And I want to say like some white hoop earrings on or something like that. Yes.
Wow, I don't even remember that. Ain't that something?
That's because you are a shapeshifter.
I was gonna say
You just be on every doggone video that you put on. It's literally like a different person talking about, hey, this is Emme Rain, you're magical mystic. And I'm like,
this one guy did ask me, he said, you running from the police? I was like, no, but I wasn't, not then. You know, them days was long gone by then, but it was funny. He said, because you look different every time. I'm trying to figure out who you hiding from. I was like, I get bored. Like Sonia, you know, sometimes you just want to feel different.
Yeah.
Megan said she'll switch up a wig, have a nigga feel like he cheating. I mean, you know, that was her.
You said it.
How long was that?
No, it didn't take no time.
We're misbehaving already.
That's terrible. I think we should get away with it. Maybe. I don't know.
You just get slid in there. That's all right. It wasn't noticeable.
We did our goofy, but that's how we get down. I mean, you know, you ought to be able to enjoy life. But tonight we want to talk to you guys about divine autonomy and how to be you. Like, all four of us, you've seen all of our faces, you followed our businesses, you know us, you trust us. And while we all love each other, we all four bring something different to the table. We're all four so different, but there's a sameness also that's there. but we are supported in our differences by one another and also by those that follow us, because we don't give other people room to have a say-so about who we're going to be in the first place. It's amazing how good your life can feel when you stop giving other people the option to make you feel anything else. So I want to really kick this off. Tasha, you have a class about divine autonomy. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, and then just some of what you put into that? Because I know that all of us approach that topic differently.
Okay. Yeah, so that particular class is honoring your spiritual freedom, honoring your divine autonomy with Divinity Academy. And the gist of the class is it introduces you to the person that actually does have the authority in your life, which is your divine self. It stresses the importance of maintaining a connection with that, because when we do not maintain a connection with our own oversoul, which I call also our highest self, okay?
Yes.
If we don't maintain a relationship, a conscious connection with our oversoul, it's easy to kind of get caught up in the convictions and everything of others. So you have to find a way to come back to yourself and honor your own authority. And it's hard to honor your authority when you don't get to know who that authority is, because it's a challenge not associating your divine authority with something external to you when you have been raised to believe that all your life. So it is pretty much a reintroducing to yourself. Your journey, when you awaken, you are getting ready to be reacquainted and reintroduced to who you truly are versus who you have been programmed to be. And so that's a journey in and of itself.
It is. And it can take, some people a little while to really work that out. And in bringing that up, both Dunny, which is Bastaluna, and Sonia have children and husbands. And both of you have two different approaches in your life. Whereas Sonia and Ruben and even their children, they're building this home empire where everybody's kind of working together toward this sameness. Whereas Bast and her children and her husband, they all have big things popping off, and they come together as a family unit more or less to refresh and to just kind of unload. So what's the challenge between you guys? What's the biggest challenge with your divine autonomy have you found as it relates to keeping yourself in a space of knowing who you are with all of that going on around you?
You want to go first, Sonia?
Oh, you go ahead. You go.
So my situation is, I would say it's a little bit on the favorable side, because I guess when I started on my journey, I didn't really know how my all the twists and turns that it was going to take me to get to that space. And I was doing a lot of exploration initially. I was like bringing home a lot of witchy books and things like that. Now, the thing about it is, when it comes to like my husband and my kids, one thing that I had always did was teach them to be independent in their spiritual journey, which means that we did not necessarily subscribe to Christianity. I had kind of let that path go way earlier on, like in my 20s, because I just kept hitting brick walls. It just wasn't for me. My husband wasn't necessarily a big religious person. He was more on the spiritual side. So we just kind of, kept an even keel. But when I started meandering along the path of magic and hoodoo, and that's my thing. So hoodoo, I love it.
She
It
said that's
is it it was something that I wasn't sure how everybody else was going to receive it. My kids, who already know that I'm just kind of like off the beaten path anyway, was just like, "You good, Mom?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm good." And so anytime they had a question, I would always like give a really informed answer, so that, and that's the important thing, is that if you give people information, especially you know, as you are learning, you know, as you are learning to, let's say, peel the orange and just, you know, take out all the sections that are encased in this orange. Let's just use this orange as an analogy. Um, um, Once you start to, you know, each peel and each section is kind of like a moment of evolution, basically, that you're reaching. And so it's good for you to share that with your family members, and so that they can get a little bit of that evolution too, so that you can kind of take them on your path. I do realize, and I've actually spoken with different people who don't have that favor in place. They, you know, like, and that's something that I had in the back of my mind. I felt like, you know, this could be like, I feel like I found myself. I feel like I found who Donnie is, who Bast is, and I can't go back. I can't, you know. So if my partner and my mate, my husband, does not accept that, what am I going to do? I would have to just be willing to move on and keep going, because what am I going to do? Forsake all of that I've just learned for, you know, to make somebody else happy? And that is like the ultimate thing that you have to make, that you have to make that imperatively important, you know, first and foremost. That is how you put yourself first. That was my very first step of really learning to put myself first, because believe me, guys, with 4 kids, a husband, demanding, everything was all demanding. I was doing everything for everybody else, and I didn't know who I was. Totally forgot who I was. I didn't, you know, it took a minute to find that space, but you have to make that choice. And one thing that I've learned is that when you have settled that within yourself, that I'm going to put myself first no matter what, everything starts to fall in line. Because I wasn't sure how he was going to receive it, and, you know, but he was good. He was just like, you know, once we sat down and had a really good conversation, and I explained to him, because I'm a very pragmatic person. You know, it has to make sense, and I don't just jump on bandwagons. He knows that about me, so he knows that if I'm subscribing to something, it means that it is something meaningful, and he respected it, and and he continues to respect it now. He is not a practitioner by any means. He's not even, you know, he doesn't really get into that, but it's something that's inside him too. And I think that's a seed that maybe is sown later, perhaps, because I look at Sonia and her husband, Ruben, as kind of like a benchmark of being a power couple you know, as practitioners, and, you know, shaking and moving and building together. We're not there yet, but as long as the mutual respect is there, and you are just allowed to, or you make room for yourself to continue to grow, sky's the limit.
Right. That is very true. I'm glad you brought that up, because Sonia, well, I know a little bit about your coming into it, but I think that's a nice compare contrast between you and Bass, because y'all situation is the same and different, but both of them are beautiful and works for you guys.
Yeah, because, you know, my husband was a diehard Christian when I first started. I was like, oh my God, it's not working for me. And I, like Donnie, I didn't know who I was anymore. And I'm like, okay. He was youth pastor, but like he held me to the same standards, and I'm like, you're the pastor, I'm me. So, but he was like, okay, we don't need to be watching this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, but I like watching Vampire Diaries. I want to watch this stuff. I want to dabble in this stuff. So it was like a divide at first, but then I had to sit down with him, and I'm like, okay, I can respect what you want to believe in, but you got to respect what I want to believe in too. And this is the route I'm going, because he had a fear that it would cause a wedge between us. And I'm like, it won't unless you let it. So
yeah,
like, don't knock it until you try it. So I just like gave him a little bit at a time to, you know, read about, you got to see for yourself. I didn't force it upon him, but he did, you know, he started studying on his own, and then he was like, okay, he was convinced. But yeah, my biggest reason for switching was because I just needed freedom. Like I just got to have my freedom, and I didn't feel like I was free in Christianity. I wasn't free, and I didn't want my kids to, you know, grow up walking on eggshells, fear of hell. And you got to ask yourself, like, did I really truly love God? Or did I just say that I loved him because of fear? You know what I'm saying? Am I a Christian because of fear? Or do I really just love being a Christian? And to be honest, I was just a Christian because I was told I was a Christian, and I was still going to church as an adult because I was fearing hell. I didn't want my kids growing up like that. So,
wow, that's a whole piece, and that's a whole, you know, from a perspective, I think that a lot of people think that it's a this or that movement, when really what it is honoring the truth of what's in your soul. And any oppressive system, because there are many, when it starts to sit on top of what's true for you, eventually it drives out all the love, all of the passion, all of the happiness, all of the hopefulness. And it's no wonder that depression is really high in churches, and even in Islam, in the mosque, and even in Fa, and some of those other types of spiritual systems, because people are still being suppressed, and it is impossible to really have a full life when you're scared, like you said, of hell. And it's interesting, because for the most part, there's such a push toward hell that you don't get to know God well enough to love him in the first place. You know, he's presented from the get up as this, you know, whip toting, you know, high divine being that see everything that you do, say, think, and judge it all the time. And that shit is stressful.
Right. Very.
I'm gonna be the only one constantly cussing, I see. The one I'm counting. You know, swear jar. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna do better. Okay, that's it.
But that's so true though. And the thing that really started to sway me is looking up the origins. Okay, so why do we believe the things that we believe? Where did these things come from? And that's the problem with a lot of organized religions. The reason why people push towards or are settled in organized religions, because they don't require accountability on your part, right? They tell you pretty much what to believe, what to think, how to think it. If you don't think this, then you go this, you know, this way or that way. It is spurned heavily in fear. And the thing that I could never reconcile as trying to be a Christian, and I really tried hard. I was like going from church to church to church, is the fact that what I was hearing, and then what my discernment was telling me, because that developed really early. My discernment was telling me that God, which I looked at from the all and the creator standpoint, was love and a being of creation and this and that and the third. So it doesn't make sense that he would also be a jealous God, then that's like putting him more towards like humans. And like, why would, so if he's supposed to be like all powerful and all perfect, then how can he fuck up, well, there you go. How can he mess up creating, human beings that, like the same gender, if it's supposed to be, absolutely, an absolute sin? Like, you are literally, so you mean to tell me that we are supposed to venerate a God that is setting us up for failure, basically? And I could not reconcile with that. So, and a lot of people can't, but they're also afraid not to they're questioning, but yet that fear of hell and burning fire and damnation is so ingrained in them. But if you would just sit there and ask yourself one question, a person who is in Syria, and their whole world has been blown the hell up, right? And all they see around them is carcasses and destruction. Where do you think that is? That is actually hell. Do you think that there's anything worse than that? Do you think that, people who are acting out their worst, atrocities? I firmly believe that we are experiencing heaven, we are experiencing hell, we are experiencing everything that's in between right here and right now. And sometimes it takes, like, once you start to really, really, break out of that mindset of fear, you can, reckon with putting yourself in that arena of being connected with the divine. Perhaps you are here in God's image as a creator. So you're creating your own reality, however it is.
Some of the questions that I have, and not questions, probably comments, I have to be mindful because I do want to respect where people are. I think that there's a whole situation with, that particular, entity and everything. Yes. We've discussed stuff behind the scenes, but I will say this though. Just like Sonia was saying, it is sometimes a fear. Like, I look back at my Christian relationship, whatever the hell to call it, it was always a back and forth battle between, okay, am I being Tasha? When I'm being Tasha, I'm not feeling churchy, right? But then when I'm not feeling churchy in being Tasha, you got this thing and this guilt in the back of your mind. Most of us Christians used to always say, I need to go back to church and get my life. But every time we would say it would be so that you're ready when he returns. Everything was for me. I'm with Sonia when I look back and say, I can't say I had a love for that God. I can't say I had a love for Jesus or anything other than what I felt like I was supposed to do. When we were young, I remember sitting around my grandmother and me and my cousin sitting on her, and she would talk about the end time. So hell, if I'm learning about the end time at 7 or 8 years old, you know what I'm saying? The fear, and she didn't think she was instilling fear. She thought she was teaching me something that was actually true, okay? And so here I am thinking, I remember thinking to myself at like 13, what if Jesus comes back now and I don't live to be an adult? I would ask all questions about, okay, is it fair all this is going to be gone? Because trust me, my grandmother was telling me about Revelation. I swear I was like 9 or 10. And so I'm thinking because Christians preach or teach it literally, not esoterically and not figuratively or allegorically, okay? So everything is literal. The 4 horsemen, everything. So I remember learning about the book of Revelation and everything that was supposed to take place in the end time as a youth. So that stuck with me for the rest of my days. So like Bass was saying, I was in and out of church. A couple of years, y'all, I was going Pentecost. Y'all should have seen me. No makeup. I'm not even a makeup person, okay? But no eyeliner, no stick, long dress and stuff. This was me, coming out of the military. And I remember thinking, is this really me? Every Wednesday we were meeting at little cell meetings. That ain't me, okay? So, but I was doing things to find who I thought I was supposed to be, and I never found that bitch, okay?
Yeah.
My bad. I never found her until I actually found me on this journey. And this is I'm so sure about it, that it makes it easy for me to live my spiritual life unapologetically and from an authentic space. This is the most spiritually authentic that I have ever felt my entire life, you know?
Same.
That's saying something for sure. You know, most of the people who, because we're all, we run the Magical Mystic group, and it's almost 14,000 people there now for you guys.
Wow.
But most of the people who write, they have those, can I do this? Can I do that? Should I do this?
Right.
Should I do that? They're afraid to feel or be guided in any kind of way from within, because there is, you know, when I raised my son in church, because I was a minister, and one day he asked me a really simple question that had me thinking all night long. He was like, he said, Mama, why would the blood be the thing that cleanses us? That's like saying Christ wanted to die, but then at the same time, he was kind of like crying and in pain and this and that and the third. He was like, so, and then it say God turned his back on him for nothing. And it's like, and he just made him sacrifice himself for everybody. He said, I don't understand. And he was like, so the blood that people stole out of his body, that's how he said it, that's supposed to make us better. Stolen blood. Like, stolen blood. You know, in my mind, because, you know, kids think differently. I'm like, I guess.
No, they think very literal.
Yeah. You know?
Yes. And it's very, very, you know, just they like to, they don't have all of the filters of, you know, that we establish, of reasoning that we establish as we get older to try and justify things. No, their shit is really, really, you know, like, this is what we're doing right now.
Most of the Bible don't make sense, but the reason is because it's a gathering of information that was needed as suppression was happening everywhere. The Bible itself is literally a book of slavery. And I think a lot of people don't want to see it like that. Yes, it has esoteric information. Yes, it has a lot of different power in it. Yes, it even has some truths in it. But they gathered it. It's like creating a goulash or some kind of jambalaya or a stew. They just put it all in there, stir it all up together, and put a being on top of all of that to because literally the majority of the Bible is pagan. You know, the very thing that they say is illegal, you shouldn't do, blah, blah, blah. It was literally the basis of the Bible. As a conqueror goes about, it's just like some things you can take from a person pretty easily. Like if a person try to take some stuff from me pretty easily, they might can get away with taking my Tootsie Rolls. Okay, fine. You can take my Mountain Dews. All right, okay. I might kill your ass about my pork chop. Let's not even go there. You know what I'm saying? So to keep from going through them problems, we got to figure out a way to let this grouping of people have their pork chops within a certain amount, but they need to be grateful for us for that. So we got to write this a certain way to control them, because that's the one thing that's the deal breaker. Literally, we're watching through the space of all religions, people creating ways to stay on top of other people. So part of divine autonomy, and I think a lot of people get turned off about divinity and autonomy, sovereignty, because it scares them. It's like, who are you to be divine? You know, you're gonna be divine over me. It's like, my divinity has nothing to do with you, you know, and yours ain't gonna have nothing to do with me. This is literally a very personal journey, and you don't need to be on top of anybody, you know, unless we're having a WAP conversation. That's a totally different matter. But on spiritual things. I couldn't help it on the Scorpio. I do it every now and again. It's like on spiritual things.
Do it every night, huh?
That was coming. I knew you was about to make something of that.
People gonna be like, Emme need to quit. They're gonna ban me from the conversations in a minute. But yeah, you know, you can be divine without lording it over someone else, and you need to be divine and in your autonomy to keep from other people from lording over you and taking your right, you know.
Right.
And what some people don't understand is like when we speak protection and everything, and especially spiritual protection and in fear. One of the things I tell my group is your biggest protection is knowing who you are and knowing your personal authority. And I have learned that because I was taught to fear back when I was younger, but I wasn't taught to fear on purpose. It's just the way we were raised. You know, you even fear God to a degree back then. Then of course, in a sense, they don't teach you to fear the devil, but they do teach you to be paranoid about the devil. Okay. So and so it's like everything around is a watch this or watch that, and then on top of that, watch your sin nature, you know, as well. Yeah. So once I began to get connected and reaffirm my own spiritual authority, that takes a chunk of the fear away right there.
Right. Yeah, the thing about it is too, they don't, people are so involved with how you are evolving over them or how they are evolving over you. It is always it's always a contest because we're kind of born and bred that way, right?
Yeah.
And so what they don't understand is that you're, just like Em said, your divinity has absolutely nothing to do with mine. Mine absolutely has nothing to do with yours. So it behooves you to, you know, for us to, you know, goad each other into our freedoms. But here, check that out. Freedom isn't free. That's one thing, right? And we can come to agree with that. It requires responsibility, meaning if you are going to be autonomous, that means that you are not going to blame the devil for your working, or you're not going to blame God for your working, because it's you. You have taken full responsibility. People are not comfortable with freedom. They never have been comfortable with freedom. Again, they liken it to you having something over them, but even more so, it's kind of an envious thing in that they themselves don't have enough gumption to be that free, and that they can't, you know, it's hard to watch somebody else, you know, live in the space that you want.
I used to be that way, y'all, when understanding why I was Christian, because like Sonia was saying, it had nothing to do with me personally feeling like I had that type of connection, but just being raised to think that that's what you're supposed to be. I found myself kind of looking at other people who were not under that fear, and I would look at them curiously, like, how are they not concerned about going to hell? And what I really was saying was, how the hell are they that free and ain't even worried about it? Like, it's not even in the back of their head. And I have to look back and see how annoying I may have been as a Christian when I thought I was doing the right thing, you know. And, you know, one of the right things that you feel like you're supposed to do as a Christian, you know, go and be fishers of men. But let's be honest, that shit's annoying when a person has told you no. You should not have to give someone an answer for, hey, I said no, thank you, I don't want Jesus. Well, back then I was not bold enough to understand that. Even in learning to walk into my authority, I also had to learn to walk in boldness, you know, when it comes to that. And so like Donnie was saying, is that not everybody's ready for that, but instead of looking at you to say, you know what, there might be something there. There are people that feel a little bit funny about another person's freedom, another person's lack of fear in their spiritual life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that meme? I think Sonia, you might have posted it in the magical, in the Mystic Love Lounge or whatever. But it was a meme, and it was this one girl who was dressed skimpy, had a mask on, she was laid, you know what I'm saying, fine hips and all of that. And it said, you know, spirituality, and then religion was in the back looking at her like, who is this thing? You know,
Yes, that's what it is.
That captures it.
Fully.
I mean,
Misery loves company. I want you to fear like I do.
Yeah. One thing I will tell you guys that's listening to us is that when you're listening to us, because this is something that we all have had people come to us and say, I feel like I'm so able to do it when I'm listening to you. But then, you know, my husband starts up, my wife starts up, my kids start up, my job start up, and all these things, and it's just not that easy. In no part of this conversation have we said any of it was easy. Nobody is ever going to promise you that. You can imagine how Sonia felt when she had to set Ruben down, when she had met her space of saying, I'm not going to let him suppress me with this shit no more. I cannot do it. I got to have a conversation with my husband, the love of my life, right? To say, listen, you know, we're at an impasse. What are we going to do? Are you going to keep trying to force me, or are we going to just at least respect one another? You can imagine Bass saying, with her kids in the house and her husband in the house, like, you know, I think I'll grab me a coffin and some graveyard dirt and some, you know, something all together, you know, or I'm exaggerating. But when she first brought voodoo into her life, like, that's one of those things that when people see it, they start making funny faces. Like, they know it's something. It's like, wait a minute, you know, is that a doll? Is that herbs? What are you doing with those oils? Are you blending that up in one of those witch bowls? That's what one of my friends called the mortar and pestle. It's a witch bowl, even though pharmacists been using it forever, but to her it's a witch bowl. So you can imagine her and that feeling. You can imagine Tasha in her initial moment of saying, I'm done. I'm not going back to church. I'm going to figure this thing out myself. And even with me, same thing. In that moment, that shit isn't easy. And it's not supposed to be. You should feel your energy moving you along. You should feel ascension happening. And sometimes it should feel like a quake inside of your soul, inside of your heart, inside of your gut. It's like, this is a moment. That's how we know our moments. You know, I hadn't been in love a lot, okay? I love people, but like being in love is a whole thing. When I think I might sense it coming, I will go do some wild stuff. That was how I lived my life when I was younger, right? But I have been in love. And I remember what it feels like when you first realize, oh shit, somebody got me, you know, because there's this quaking inside and you want to cry and smile at the same damn time. It's like you're thinking about them, and then you're thinking about the fact that you're thinking about them, and it's this whole thing, and it's like, oh my God, this is amazing and scary at the same time. And you know, but that's a beautiful thing. That's what makes it beautiful. When people quit their job on the fly and be like, fuck it, I'm about to go, I did it again. I'm gonna go out here and live my dream. I'm about to hit the road. It's like some part of them is like, you got bills, you're tripping. Yes. And yet that makes it exciting. You're supposed to feel it. Stop being afraid to feel. I know that the world is trying to numb you. They try to entertain you into a space of numbness. They try to medicate you into a space of numbness. Guys, you eventually have to decide that you're going to do it afraid. You're going to do it quaking in your boots. You're going to do it even when you're unsure. You're going to keep on honoring what's coming up from within. What's coming up from within. And will you make some mistakes? No more than you've already made, and actually quite a lot less. Yep. You'll make less and less and less as you get comfortable listening and hearing and being guided personally. We don't need mediators and lords and masters and mamas.
Right.
We need ourselves. We need that higher connection, because with that, no matter what is taken away, you always have that connection to the all, and you will always be okay. It won't be shaken. There is no, I'm gonna make my higher self mad and she gonna abandon me or he gonna abandon me. There is no, you better toe this line or you gonna get dropped off. You ain't gotta worry about that anymore. There is no separating you from your God self. And I love that. That's my favorite part. Ladies, y'all have any closing words?
I agree.
Well, I just want to say that just following up on what Em just said, you definitely just need the first step is trust in yourself. However, in the same context, please, please, please start to align yourself with like-minded individuals that are going to affirm you, that are you can learn from, and you can actually, like, you guys can play off one another. Also, it is good while you are not finding a teacher or a mentor is not putting yourself in their hands. That's not their job. Their job is simply to teach you. Everybody who is here, present, company included, is capable of being able to help you establish your space on your journey. No one says it's going to look like any of us. Your journey is going to be your journey. But the fact is, guidance is always key. And especially in this day and age where disinformation and mania and all these things are just kind of rampant right now, it's important to be balanced, know thyself, and have a community that you trust and that you that you guys can move through. It's not always going to be the same people. Everybody is in your life for a reason and season. Sometimes the season ends early, sometimes it's for a long haul. But the fact of the matter is, it's not about you getting attached to people. It's about you getting attached to yourself first and foremost.
That is so true. Absolutely. Sonia?
I would say that just choosing you is very important. I made the decision to choose me. Had I not made that decision, we would have been left in church to this very day, because like I felt, no, seriously, I felt like my husband was stuck because he always walked on those eggshells in church, and he was always scared to do this. Oh, we can't do that. I'm like, okay, we gotta do something, because I'm a Libra. I like fun. We gonna have to have fun some kind of way. So that's why I was like, okay, let me keep myself entertained. Let me go try this. But when we sat down and we had that decision, that was me letting him know, like, I'm choosing me. Like, you do what you have to do on your end, and I hope it doesn't come between us, because I do love you, but I had to do this for me. So choose you, and it's gonna work out regardless when you choose yourself.
That's very true. That is very true. Tasha?
What I'll encourage is stay open to growth and evolution. You may have a specific conviction today, and you may be closed something today that you're open to a year from now. So in contrast with religion, where people tend to like to stay stagnant within that religion, allow yourself on your journey to evolve, even if that means a shift in your connection, a shift in your understanding. That right there is growth. Be open to growth and evolution with your oversoul as your foundation, and you will not go wrong.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you for listening. We look forward to bringing you many, many more episodes and getting more of the ladies of the syndicate before you guys. We appreciate you guys for also following us on Facebook. You can find Tasha Matrez, Bass DeLuna, as well as Sonia Shed. And I said it right without thinking about it. I'm getting used to it right away. Y'all know, a little funny. We've been knowing each other like 15 years, and she let me call her name wrong for 15 years. Like, and finally, I think she just was like, I ain't gonna let sister just be looking dumb in front of these thousands of people that be watching her lives. It's like, it's pronounced shed, like S with a head. I was like, well, that makes perfect sense. Where was I getting sheen from? It is an E and an A, not an E and an E, but you know, in my mind. So anywho, but anyway, we definitely follow us. We also have a page. It's called The Syndicate. You can follow us there for great messages and look forward to us working with you. We're there. You could join us at the Magical Mystic group. And if you're looking for a mentor, you're not going to find anyone better than these three ladies right here. They are absolutely the truth. And you know, I wouldn't say it if it wasn't the fucking facts. Okay? Got to close out on the right note. Okay, let me stop recording.